Right. Okay. So we're on men. What is this? Men plus on the base. Ksubasisha Ziburis. The Mishnah said, as far as the Tikkun Olam, so it's talk about the Nizik has to be paid with Idis, the best. And we had a focus about that if it means that even Rabbi Shmuel that says Nidis the Mazik, but Midrabanan he has to pay Idis the Mazik, or that it means that they're just saying the reason of the Torah, but the Rai says Idis the Mazik, and they're just saying why the reason is. And then then about Chol Bebenis, we said in order that they should be encouraged to lend money. And Ksubasisha Ziburis. That and the Gemara seemed to explain. Pashpashat, the Gemara seemed to explain the reason is because she doesn't need encouragement to get married, so we don't have to make the takana that we have by a balchov because a woman wants to get married anyway, and therefore we don't have to give him more than ziburis, which means he can give whatever he wants. Now the Gemara has a revolution shot in the Mishnah, and it's not going to hold it. Then it's going to come up, but the Gemara is going to work it out and even try hard to save this revolution. I'm a Mazutra Beder of Nachman, La'amor Ne'ela B'Yasmi. Abominati Day, the Beinin is very big chiddush. That when the Mishnah says that Ksubasisha is paid with Ziburis, it's not talking about if the husband is alive, which means if he divorced her and he has to pay Ksuba, so then he does have to give Beinin. Get it closer? That's good. Only if he died, if the husband died, or even if he divorced her, but then he died, and then they're coming to the Yisomim in order to collect, then the dinner is Biziburis, which is a general din that every time you collect from Yisomim is Biziburis. But the Mishnah doesn't mean to say that a Ksubasisha is different than a Balchov. Just like a Balchov gets Beininis, so also the Ksubasisha also, when she comes to collect the Ksuba from the husband, she also gets Beininis. It's only his husband's not alive, either because he died, she became a widow, or even if he divorced her, but then he died, and now he's coming to the Yisomim, so then the din is Biziburis. That's why I was against the Pashpashat in the Mishnah. The Mishnah says that the was going to come later on with this kasha, but the Mishnah says that the Nizik collects Idius, and the Balchov collects Beininis, and the Isha collects Biburis, and I was saying that's not pshat. That Idis, the Nizik collects Idis, and the Balchov and the Isha collect Beininis. When does it mean that a Ksubasisha collects Ziburis? Only if she's coming to collect from the Yisomim, which is the next din in the Mishnah. That Mishnah says that anybody collects from the Yisomim, even the Nizik that collects from the Yisomim also only gets Ziburis. So this is a very huge chiddush. Masutra Bedra of Nachman said that, and the more right away jumps up. Me ask me, you come to collect from the Yisomim, so only Ksubasisha is Ziburis. Ma'yo Ksubasisha, I feel come be nami. Datanan any from Nechasei Yisomim element as Ziburis. There's no such special thing about a woman that she gets ziburis. Everybody gets ziburis. Like the next mission is right away. In our mission, we learned it already. That anybody that comes to collect from the Yisomim, they get ziburis. So why would Elul Aminei? It's talking about that. This mission is talking about something special about a Ksubasisha, that even if she's coming to collect from the husband himself, she only could collect ziburis. The Gemara gets out of it. La'olam miyasmi. No. Will state that the din of Ksubasisha B'Zibur is only from the Yisomim. And the kasha was it's a general din by everybody. What's special about a Ksubasisha? Ksubasisha is Shrichale, is a Chiddush. It's true, there's no difference, but you might have thought that it's different. You might have thought that a Ksubasisha should get Beinanis even from the Yisomim. The truth is that everyone gets from the Yisomim, everybody gets Ziburis. But there is a Chiddush that the woman also gets Ziburis from collecting from the Yisomim. You might have thought because of chen. Chen means grace. That maybe that word literally means grace. Question what the grace is going to be. But the translation of the word chen is chen. We have this Gemara also on Daf Lamed Hey, like it says in the side of Gemara. It says Daf Lamed Hey. We have the same words over there. So what's chen? There might be a reason why you might have thought that you would give the woman beinanis even from the Yisomim. Usually Yisomim only pays ziburis. But you might have thought special takana that when the woman is collecting a ksuba, she should get beinanis even from the Yisomim because of chen. Which chen? So Rashi before the Flamet said that the woman should want to get married, that they should be encouraged to get married because if they know that Ksubasisha is only going to be Ziburis, they'll hesitate. They want to give them a good reason to get married, that even if they have to get Ksuba, they'll get beinanis, which is against what the Gemara said a couple of lines ago, or at least that she get married anyway. A woman wants to get married. A woman is interested. Someone's proposing. No, a regular woman. She wants to get married. So she thinks, is it likely to get married? So of course, there's a long reason why she should get married. But then she puts in the possibility that she's going to have to get divorced or widowed, and she's only going to get ziburis for a ksuba. Right. So we want to encourage her to get married, you'll get Baininus. Maybe we up to Mashmalan that you don't say that, like Moshe said, because women will get married anyway. You don't need any encouragement. They want to get married. And maybe that's what the Gemara's answer is, Kamashmalan. You might have thought that thing. There's no Pshat Taisa says, but maybe it's easier that we want that now that she's a widow or a divorced and the husband died, he died, whatever, let's say a widow. So now she has to get remarried. Maybe we should make her suitable to get married for the next husband, that she should have some money. She shouldn't come with Ziburis, right? She'd be attractive to the next husband that she should marry, and maybe you'll give her a good dowry that she should get Baininus, not Ziburis. She should come Ziburis, people will think twice. But now she's coming with Baininus, maybe in order that so the Chain is two pshatim. Either that the men should find grace in the eyes of the woman, that's Rashi's pshat, or that the woman should find grace in the eyes of the men in the next marriage. So those are the two pshatim. You might have thought that even though always some only pay Ziburis, maybe to Supersisha, they should have to pay Baininus, Kamash Malam. But Mazutra still holds his ground that the din of Ziburis is only from the Yisomim. But if she comes to collect from the husband himself, so then she collects Baininus. Big Chiddush of Mazutra. He doesn't say what he bases it on, but that's his halacha. And the Gemara tried to knock it down, and the Gemara protected him. That could be that the Chiddush that from the Yisomim, even from Yisomim, there's a Chiddush that Ksubasisha collects from Ziburis. But Enochanami, if the husband would be around and she's collecting from him, she would get Baininus. So the Gemara tries again to knock it down. Amarava, Tashma, but Meir Omer, Ksubasisha Baininus. And the Mishnah Meir argues. Meir says that if Ksubasisha does get Baininus, you always have to remember that even though it says three categories, the Nizik, the Balchov, and the Ksubasisha, Meir says that there's only two categories because it says Ksubasisha also get Baininus. It didn't say in the Gemara his reason. It could be that he also thinks she needs some chaim or encouragement. Somebody doesn't say the reason why Meir says Ksubasisha. And now the Gemara wants to know, what is Meir talking about? Rav Meir says Baininus. When is he talking about? Miman Ilay Memayasmi. Lastly, the Rav Meir Hadit Nan in the form next to some element as Ziburis. When Rav Meir argues and says that a Ksubasisha does get Baininus. So what is he talking about? That the husband died and she's going to the Yisomim? Doesn't he agree that from Yisomim you always collect Ziburis? It's very similar to the Gemara before. But now just saying Rav Meir says it's really. He says that the woman does get Baininus. Who does she get Baininus from? From the Yisomim? Doesn't he agree that always Yisomim only gives Ziburis? It must be Rav Meir's coming to say that even when he's alive, when he's alive, when he's alive, she gets Baininus. That means that the opponent, Mechlal de Rabban and Sabri Ziburis. They talk about a case when the husband's alive, he divorced her and she's coming to collect, and Rabban says Ziburis, Rav Meir says Baininus. They weren't saying the same thing over again, just proving it from Rav Meir. And they weren't saying the same terrace over again. Let me ask me, could be it's only talking about Yisomim, and Rav Meir says, even by Yisomim also Baininus. Maybe Rav Meir holds that even though usually from a Yisomim only collect Ziburis, maybe a woman Ksubasisha could collect before Chaim. Whatever Chaim means, according to Rashi, that the woman should want to get married, according to Taisvis, that the next husband should marry her. So it could be we're talking about Miyasmi, Minei, everybody would agree, like we're still supporting or defending Marzutra Vedra of Nachman, that if the husband's alive, he has to pay Baininus. Like any Balchov, the only issue is here is about Yisomim. There's a machlokes. For sure, there's a machlokes. Rav Meir and Rabban are arguing, but they're arguing by yes. The question is from the husband himself or from the Yisomim? The two. No, now the Gemara is trying that. That the Gemara wants to say that taking Mazutra Vedra of Nachman's position from the husband, if she's coming to the husband, everyone knows Baininus. The Mishnah doesn't even talk about that. And the old machlok is only about from the Yisomim. And the Rabbanan say that the Yisomim, you collect Ziburis like anybody collects only Ziburis. And Rav Meir says no, that a woman is an exception, that she's allowed to collect Baininus from the Yisomim, because even from the Yisomim. Only with the Yisomim, right. And no one's going to argue that from him himself was only his Baininus. So this is all to defend Masutra Reda of Nachman. He said so. That Minei, even the woman is going to get, Ksubasisha is also going to get Baininus. Amar Abaya, third tried to knock him down. Amar Abaya, Tashma, Anizakin, Shamadan Bedis, Balchov Baininus, Ksubasisha Ziburis. That's what the Mishnah says, right? Doesn't it say three categories? It says Nizik gets this, the Balchov gets Baininus, and the Ksubasisha gets Ziburis. What are we talking about? When we say that the Nizik and the Balchov get Idis and Bainis, what are we talking about? We're talking about from him himself, not that if he died. If he died, that's the next Mishnah, that it says that everybody collects from Ziburis. So when it says that the Nizik gets Idis and the Balchov gets Bainis, on that it says Ksubasisha gets Ziburis. Biman, who are you collecting from? We're talking about collecting from the Yisomim. The Nizik doesn't get Idis. my area ksubas isha means who's the ksubas isha gets divorced. Like you want to say only from the Yisomim? You just have to make this smaller. I never got a real translation. If I did, I forgot it. What is the my area? I don't know. Anybody have a translation of my area? Why? Yeah, okay. Why dafka ksubasisha? If you look at Hani Nami, the ksubasisha that gets you want to say the ksubasisha gets divorced. My area. I'll say it in Yiddish. Vos epis. like that doesn't translation. Like what? Why do you talk about dafka ksubasisha? That gets Iburis. First line, Afi Lukalani Nami, all of them gets Iburis. Means the mission says Nazikin get Idis, Balchov gets Baininus, Subasisha gets Iburis. When did the Nizakin and the gets Idis and the Balchov gets Baininus? Not from the Yisomim, because in the Yisomim, everybody will get Iburis. So they're getting it when he's alive. And on that it says that the Subasisha gets Iburis. You can't tell me that the Subasisha gets Iburis when the husband's dead and she's going to the Yisomim. Because then the Nizaken and the Balchav also will get Ziburis. We're talking about collecting from the husband. As the Ksubasisha gets Baininus. So now the Gemara is going to have a real docha, real docha, to try to save such a rate of Nachman. Just a little foresight that then the Gemara is going to knock down a massive rate of Nachman. So this pshat is we're not going to say this pshat at the end. But just to save his possibility, the Gemara is going to work hard to explain the Mishnah. He's the one. Masuch Beit of Nachman. He's always started off today. Masuch Beit of Nachman. That the din of Ziburis is only when she's collecting from the Yisomim. But if she's collecting from him, she gets Beinus. He's the original author. And now we had already three kashas on him. And now we're defending Abayi's kasha, which the Mishnah is pretty clear. The Mishnah says the Nizik gets Idis, the Balchov gets Beinus, the Isha gets Ziburis. We're talking about from him. We're not talking about. And Masuch Beit of Nachman knows that if it's from the Yisomim, everybody gets Ziburis. And if it's from him, then she gets Baininus also. She gets Baininus also. How is he going to explain the Mishnah? I can explain the Mishnah according to Masuch Beit of Nachman. The case alone, just to say the case that what the Mishnah means, sounds like a huge docha. But we'll try to go through the docha anyway, and then it's not going to last. Right. That the Mishnah is not talking about what we have so far. It's talking about him or talking about the Yisomim. There's a third choice. It's talking about an Orev. That somebody came in to be a co-signer, a guarantor for the Chiyuvim. So here the case is that the father that she wants to get married, and there's somebody, she doesn't trust the husband because he's going to have money to pay the ksuba. So somebody comes in as an Orev for the ksuba. That if it comes divorced or widowed, then there's going to be a ksuba to pay, and he's not going to be able to pay. So I'll pay for it. The Orev will pay. And here's a case, and the Orev is going to be divorced. And the Mishnah said the Gemara is going to say, how come this case? There's somebody happens to be the father. The father volunteered to become an Orev for his son. Why does it have to say that's a case of a father and a son? Why is it not a stranger? Maybe we'll see later on. So far, I don't know why the Gemara picked on the father. But let's say what the case is, that somebody had a son who needed help. He wasn't able to take care of himself. So the father took on responsibility for all of his debts. If he's going to damage, or he damaged already, and he has to pay. Maybe he damaged already, I don't know what the case is, or he's going to damage. He took on all of his, I'm an Orev for all of his responsibilities. So if he damages, I'm going to pay. If he borrows money, I'm going to pay. If he gets married and there's a ksuba, I'm going to pay. I'll be the Orev for all of his things. What? That's not the subject over here. Maybe it's all included in Balchov, whatever kind of debts he has. But it says that he became an Orev for his son's damages, for his son's creditors, and for the ksuba to his daughter-in-law. Or else he wouldn't take on such a thing. It could be the Gemara's again, and the ksuba for his daughter-in-law, which means that his son's going to get married. His son is the husband. He has to pay ksuba, so I'll take on the responsibility to pay the ksuba if he divorces her or if he dies. That's the case. And what is it? That father. or if not the father, now the son damaged and the son borrowed and the son got married and either died and divorced, and now he has to pay up all these chiyuvim. So it says, either one of these cases, so it means it doesn't have to happen, all three of them happen. But the Mishnah says that he pays idis for his son's damages, he pays baininus for his son's debts, and he pays ziburis for his son's ksuba. And what's the difference? But now we're saying that the woman herself, if she'd be collecting from the husband, she would get baininus. That's what we're taking Mazur Reda of Nachman. He's right. We're taking the side that he's right. That if she comes to collect from the husband, the ex-husband, she gets baininus. But here, the father, who's an Orev, is going to only have to pay ziburis. And why is that? Each person, he pays for, the father pays for each one, for the mazik, for the nizik, and for the balchov, and for the isha, each one according to what they're supposed to get. What does that mean? Kidine means the way they're supposed to get. The zakin, the balchov, the mechayim, gavu, iyunami, ki magvi, ki mechayim magvi. The son died. The son's not around, let's say, and therefore the father is coming to pay up all the debts. So when the father took on the responsibility to pay for his son, he wasn't thinking about he might die. He meant to say that when a person pays damages, usually it's because he's alive. He's damaged and he's alive. And if he has a debt, he's alive. And the ksuba, there's also a thought that he dies. When does a person pay ksuba? One of two cases, either for divorce or because of he died. So when a person talks about taking on a guarantee, he's going to be the guarantor for a ksuba, he also talks about the fact that he might die. And different than by Nizak and by ksuba, than by Balchov, because over there you don't think about dying. So when he takes on the responsibility to be a guarantor for his son's nezek, he thinks in the way the son would have paid. The son would be alive, he would have paid idis. I'll pay in his place. When he takes on to be a guarantor for his son's debt, he also, the son would be alive, and he would have to pay baininus. I'll pay baininus. But when he thinks, Kesuba Sisha, the Mechayim Gavu, that usually is collected in the lifetime of the damager, Mechayim, from life. Yunami ki magvi ki mechayim magvi. He too, when he's paying up, I don't know what the word magvi over here means. He pays as if the son would be alive, even though the son died. The son died, but he's paying as if the son would have had to pay when he would have been alive. It is for the mazik, for the nizik, and then it is for the balchov. But the ksubasisha is different. Ksubasisha, it's true. If he would have been alive, she would have been able to collect baininus from him. But he thinks about if he would have been dead. Ksubasisha the lacha misa gavya, that usually or sometimes the woman's collecting from the yisomim because he died. It isn't always because he divorced her. It could be because he died. And over there, the guarantor wants to pay the way the yisomim would have paid. It means what would have been a regular case? The woman is getting married and she's scared she's not going to get ksuba. She's talking about also the possibility the husband will die and she's going to have to go to the yisomim and get ksuba. And the father stepped in and said, "I'll be the guarantor." He's the guarantor of whatever payment she would have gotten. What payment she would have gotten from the yisomim? She would have gotten ziburis, because that's the payment of yisomim. So that's what the guarantor meant to take on. I'm going to take on the fear that the yisomim would have had to pay. Who did she collect from if the husband died? From the yisomim. He too, the father is the guarantor. He's going to pay up as if the yisomim would have paid. So the Gemara found an ingenious way how to get out of the kasha. Is she collecting from him? Is she collecting from the yisomim? If it's the yisomim, everyone should be ziburis, because that's the halacha. That for yisomim, everybody only collects ziburis. If we're talking about collecting from him, so Rabbi such a of Nachman says that the substitution also gets baininus, as the Mishnah says ziburis. So he came up with this ingenious case that it's Orev. The Orev is the one who's paying, and the Mishnah says that the Orev pays according to who is expected to pay. If the live man was expected to pay, so then it would be Nizak and Veidius and Balchov Baininus. But when you talk about Ksubasisha, right away it triggers the thought that he might die, and over there it's Baininus, it's Ziburis, because they're collecting the Yisomim. So therefore he only was Machayiv himself to pay Ziburis. So we saved Azot Rebbe Rav Nachman. The Gemara doesn't understand this, because when we talk about this, an Orev for a Ksuba, that's what we're saying. It was an Orev for the damages, an Orev for the Balchov, and an Orev for the Ksuba. Is there such a thing as Orev for the Ksuba? We don't know anything. The Gemara is telling us there is no such thing as an Orev for a Ksuba. If a person says he's going to be an Orev for a Ksuba, and then they come to knock on the door and say, that the husband died or divorced, and you have to pay Ksuba, he doesn't have to pay. There's no such thing as Orev the Ksuba, even if he's alive. And the Gemara is going to say there's no such, like ksuba is different. Even if someone takes on to be an orev for a debt or for an azakin, it takes effect. But if someone comes to be an orev for a ksuba, it doesn't take effect, even though it would look very serious. He said, I'll be an orev. And the woman said, okay, I'll get married. And then it comes time to collect the ksuba, and Besson says he's butter. The Gemara is going to talk about why. Even he said it's not, he became an orev. The father, somebody else, they became an orev. But typically, the orev the ksuba lo mishtabed. There's no such thing as the orev the ksuba. The Gemara is going to talk about in a couple of lines why it should be like that. One, just to throw in a few reasons, the Gemara is going to talk about the fact that he's doing a mitzvah. The orev just means to get them married. He has good intentions. He just wants to get them married. Why? Even though he said, I'm going to pay. That's the shotgun. But he's not going to really pay. Also, she's not really losing any money. A regular orev, as far as why the Chazal say that an orev of a ksuba doesn't take effect. Even if he said, I'll be an orev, he doesn't have to pay. He didn't really mean it. He just wanted the shidduch to go through. Or another reason is because she's not really losing any money. When she agrees to get a regular, if you come a guarantor for a debt, it means the Mal was willing to shell out money, to lend money on relying upon you, orev. But here, what are we asking her to do? We're asking her to get married. We're not asking her to shell out any money. So she's not losing anything. And maybe there are more reasons also. But the Gemara says, "Orev the ksuba lo mishtavi." So the pshat doesn't make sense. He tried hard to save Mazut rid of Nachman, and he said the Mishnah is talking about an orev. An orev would be nice by the mazik and by the balchol, but it doesn't. No such thing as an orev by a ksuba sisha. The Gemara answers b'kavlan. That is orev kavlan. So what does orev kavlan mean? That he, for some reason, that's stronger. I think one's going to say at the bottom of the page, and one's going to talk about a kabbalah and ksuba. If he makes himself an orev kabbalah for a ksuba, so then maybe it does take more effect. Now, a kabbalah, Rashi explains what a kabbalah is over here, but if you take it, that's what we know to be a kabbalah, a little bit simpler than Rashi says. A orev kabbalah means that you could come to collect from the orev, even if you don't go to the loba first. Usually, an orev means that if I'm a guarantor, if the loba doesn't have any money to pay, you can come to collect from me. But you have to first go to the loba and make sure he doesn't have anything to pay. If he has money to pay, I'm not going to pay. But Arav Kabbalah has to pay. He can go straight to the Arav Kabbalah. So that's the reason why maybe that Arav the Ksuba, Arav Kabbalah the Ksuba, maybe is it responsible to pay. Even though a regular Arav of a Ksuba doesn't have to pay, he doesn't obligate himself, but Arav Kabbalah the Ksuba does have to pay. That's what the Gemara seems to say. The Gemara has one more kasha on this, that yes. Kabbalah. What means allowed? It
doesn't work.
Right, but our Kabbalah does have to pay. Will have to pay. It does take effect. That's what the Gemara is going to say. Maybe. I don't know what the connection of the two things are, but it's more serious. The Gemara maybe we'll talk about a little bit. I may be able to glean something from the upcoming Gemara, but so far we're taking the facts that Arav the Ksuba does not take effect. It doesn't obligate him at all, but Arav Kabbalah the Ksuba does take effect. Yes. No Kabbalah for Nizakim, anything that he said. If he wants to guarantee it as a Kabbalah. Right. You don't have to go to the lower first. Because the Malba is not willing to go to the lower first because he's a difficult character or whatever reason. And he doesn't want to patchka with him. I have to prove that I went to him and he doesn't have any money. I want to be, I trust you, I don't trust him. There are many times like that you lend money to somebody, not because of him, you don't trust him, but you trust the Orev. But only if I can go straight to you. If I have to go to him first, he'll drain me a cup and he has money and I'm going to have to try to get it out from him. The Malva is willing to, I'm not going to be able to collect the money from him. I can't go to the Orev only if I go to the Loba first. And the Loba is difficult to deal with. And he could be, and he has money, I see, and the car is going to say, I'm not going to pay. He has money. I see the money on his table. But it's hard to get it. So the man was not willing to lend the money, only if he's an Arav Kabbalah. And for some reason, Arav Kabbalah of a Ksuba does work more than a regular Arav. Or a regular Arav Ksuba, someone says I'm an Arav, it doesn't mean anything. But if he says I'm an Arav Kabbalah, it does mean something. So we have a pshat. Rav Acha bar Yaakov says Masud Rebbe Rav Nachman that you can say the Mishnah talking about an Orv Kablan. But the Gemara says it's still not so simple. So this is a new issue that we didn't talk about. I don't know anything about it. Here it says that at the time of the loan, there's more reason, whatever pshat you can help me out with, there's more reason that the Orev obligates himself if the Lova has estate. If the Lova has Nechasim, that means there's a good chance he is going to pay. That's a more reason that the Orev really obligates himself. But if at the time of the loan, the borrower, he has money, he has property, he has an estate, and the Malva still wants, I need an Orev. I'm not going to lend it to you. I need an Orev. And the Orev agrees to an Orv Kablan, agrees to pay, to be an Orv Kablan with the Lova, right? Because he has, he'll pay up the whole. He has karka, he has, or be able to get it back, Okay, you're telling me how it works this way. But if the Lova, but some say that if the Lova does not have any estate, no karka, no real estate, so even the Orv Kablan does not obligate himself, since he doesn't feel comfortable with his acceptance, even though he's saying I accept, but we know that he's shaky because he doesn't know if he's ever going to be able to get paid back from the Lova. So that's the machlokes. One of them says that he becomes an Orv Kablan even though the Lova doesn't have any estate. Then it's good. Then we can learn our pshat. But if you say that the Orv Kablan only becomes Meshubed if the Lova has property at the time of the loan, but if he doesn't have property at the time of the loan, he doesn't become Mishtabed. Michael Amemra, you have no pshat in the Mishnah. It means you can't say the Mishnah is talking about such a case because we know that the Lova did not have property at the time of the loan. And that the Gemara doesn't explain. How do we know that? Who says that the Lova doesn't have property at the time of the loan? So we'll say that because he doesn't have, from the Gemara's answer you see, because he doesn't have now. He doesn't have now, so probably didn't have at the time of the loan. And the Gemara is going to answer that he doesn't have now, but he did have at the time of the loan. That's what 2 more lines. If he had property at the time of the loan, but since then it got blown away, it got washed away, or got wind blown away, it's not here anymore. But it still doesn't make sense to us because who says that the Lova doesn't have Nechasim right now? Maybe the Lova does have Nechasim right now. So that's a problem. How does the Gemara know, not think? The Gemara thinks he didn't have then at the time because he doesn't have now. But the Gemara knows that he doesn't have now. Why does the Gemara know that the Lova doesn't have any money now? The Gemara is going to soon say that he had then, but he doesn't have now. How does the Gemara know he doesn't have now? Why should that be?
If he had now, he wouldn't have to go to the Kabbalah.
If he would have,
he wouldn't have to go to the Kabbalah.
He wouldn't have to go to the Kabbalah, and he wouldn't have to. He would be allowed to go. He'd be allowed to go to the Kabbalah. Rashi says that he wouldn't be able to go to the Kabbalah if the Lova would have money. And Taisus says in the last few words on the page, the Kabbalah, you said the whole Kabbalah means you can go to the Kabbalah before you go to the Lova. So even if the Lova has a state, you'd be allowed to collect from the Orev. So how does the Gemara know that the Lova doesn't presently have any estate? So Rashi has a pshat, Taisus doesn't understand it. Taisus has a pshat that I don't understand. And there's a Ramban, but I have to remember what the Ramban says. Something to the effect that if the Lova, how's it go? If the Lova would have a state, I forgot what the Ramban says. Okay, I have to go further. I'll try tomorrow to come back and say what the Ramban says. But the Gemara knows that the Lova doesn't have any estate now, and therefore The question is that the Orv Kablan doesn't become an Orv Kablan according to one Mandama. According to one Mandama says that a Kablan, even if the Lova doesn't have any estate, fine. But one Mandama says that the Kablan only becomes Chayiv if the Lova has. No, I'm still chazering over the kasha. According to Mandama that says that only if the Lova has estate does the Kablan become a Kablan. But if he doesn't have, he doesn't. And here the case is that he doesn't have any estate, so the Kablan didn't become Chayiv. So one teretz is he was saying that he did have at the time of the loan, and now he doesn't have. Okay, whatever's bothering the Gemara, I don't know. And bottom line, as for a son, it's different. Even though to a stranger, a person won't become a kabbalah only if the lova that he's being a guarantor for has a state. But for a son, he has that connection to the son that'll become a kabbalah even if the son doesn't have anything. And here, that's why the Gemara says talking about a son, because the Gemara knew this. Or else the Gemara could have said the whole time he's talking about a regular, or not about a son. And the only point to one boy is saying. So we went through 3 kashas so far, and we defended Rabbi Marzut Rebbe of Nachman. He still could say his position that Ksuba Sisha you do collect from Beinanis, if it's from the husband himself, only from the Yisomim, that's the din of Ziburis. Or Meir says Beinanis. Since we mentioned this whole thing about a Kabbalah with a Ksuba, and this, the Gemara has the parentheses over here. It's a parentheses from the Itmar over here until we get about 5 lines down or so on the next page. Itmar. This is like a side point to talk about, is there such thing as Orv Diksuba? Orv Diksuba, there we are called Lo Mishtabed. Kablan de Balchov, there we are called Mishtabed. Orv de Balchov, the Kablan Diksuba, Pligi. Okay, so let's take it slow. There are a couple of factors over here that the Gemara is saying, does the Orv become obligated? He says, I'm obligated. He obligates himself. He says, I'm going to be an Orv. So, a Ksuba teacher, the Gemara is going to say a svara that is less svara that a person should become obligated himself. First of all, because he's doing a mitzvah to make a shidduch, and also she doesn't have any loss, and no financial loss. She's just getting married, but she's not shelling out any money. A Baal Chov, on the other hand, he's shelling out money, and there's no, I'll do a mitzvah to get him alone. He's doing it on somebody else's judgment. So there's more svara that for a Baal Chov, a person should become obligated as an Oreb than for a Ksuba teacher. There's also an issue about a Kabbalah. A Kabbalah obligates himself more. A Kabbalah is more obligated. The fact that he accepted to become a Kabbalah, that you can come to him straight and not have to go through the Lova first, is more far that is Mechayiv himself. So first, the Gemara talks about the 2 extremes. The least Mechuyavut is Orv Diksuba. That's the bottom line. Orv Diksuba. There's no shivut. He doesn't become a kabbalah. He doesn't become an orev. Or if the ksuba is not an orev, even though he said I'll be an orev, there's a marriage going on, and they want an orev, and someone says I'll be an orev. This is the source that of the ksuba doesn't take effect. And the Gemara is going to say this first more. And the other extreme is kabbalah and the balchov. Over there's a kabbalah, and also there's a balchov, not an isha. There's a more. So over there, no, yes, mishtabel. But the 2 ones in the middle, orev the balchov, that he wasn't a kabbalah for balchov, a regular orev for a balchov. Or a kabbalah ksuba, that even though there's one down, it's only ksuba, but it's a kabbalah. So that's machlokis if he becomes mishtabed or not. But not yes or no. Pligi, there's machlokis. Ikalaman dama afagav the less than the lova mishtabed. That these 2 they become mishtabed even if the lova has no nechasim. Like we said, that's also a factor. The fact that lova has no nechasim, there's less smichas das of the orev. And the orev says I'm going to pay. He's not so comfortable about it because the lova doesn't have any nechasim. So some say that even if that's just so strong, the fact that it's a balchov or a kabbalah, even though you only have one out of the 2 factors, some say that it becomes mechuyev even if the lova has no nechasim. It depends if he has nechasim. It has to be 2 things. That together with the fact that it's either a balchov or a kabbalah, you have something going for you, but you also have to have something else going for you, that it should be that the lova had nechasim b'shas ma'aseh. This is what the Gemara quoted before, that by a kabbalah, the ksuba, there's machlokis if you have nechasim or not. And that's why the Gemara was quoting this sheet over here. Orv balchov. Whenever you sign, they always say Orv kabbalah. Everyone always says Orv kabbalah. Whenever you become a guarantor, it says Ayin Kuf over there. Ayin Kuf stands for Orv kabbalah. No one takes a plain Orv anymore. I never saw a gemach without, every gemach has Orv kabbalah. They don't want to pashka with the lova, and also it says here that it might be that maybe they try, but and they go to the lower first. Yeah, that's your business. You have to pay us and then go. So here it says that also, besides the fact that it could be that the what that at the time of the chov. At the time of here it says that some hold that a orig, the bal chov, would only be mechayiv himself if the loba had the chosim at the time of the loan. And many times it doesn't happen. I say now they do Arav Kabbalah right away. They do Arav Kabbalah by also because they want to be able to go to the Arav Kabbalah direct. They don't want to go through the loba first. That's also a reason why they do it. All the Gemachs have Arav Kabbalah, and they gain two things. One is they can go to the Kabbalah straight, and also some hold that an Arav plain Arav for a Bal Chov would only become chayiv if the loba had the chosim. They're not going to go check does he own a dira, doesn't own a dira. They're not going to start checking if he has any karka or not. So therefore, they always make an Arav Kabbalah. That as far as the thing we just spoke about, Orev the Balchov and a Kabbalah the Ksuba, they do become a Shubit even if the Loba has no Nechasim. So for that reason, they'd be able to write a regular Orev in a regular Gamat. They could write an Orev even if it has no Nechasim. But Barma Orev the Ksuba, the Afagav the Islay, Lo Mishtabed. The most extreme, we started with the beginning, that the Orev the Ksuba has everything against him. It's an Orev the Ksuba. It's only a Orev, not an Orev Kabbalah, and only Ksuba, not a Balchov. Over there, even if he had Nechasim, the Loba, the husband, had Nechasim at the time of the marriage, the Orev does not mechayiv himself. My timer, mitzvah the Avad, the Lamidi Chasra, that he's doing a mitzvah of making a shidduch, and therefore that's what he meant to do. He didn't mean to obligate himself. And also, Lamidi Chasra, he's not making her lose anything, but she's not paying any money. She's getting married. So good for you. It's good for you to get married. So the Orev doesn't really mean. No, she's not losing because she's not paying any money. About Chov is not shelling out money. So the Orev has to realize that he's paying money because of you. He's lending money on your account. So you can't just say I didn't mean it. But here she's not shelling out any money by getting married. She's just getting married. Of course, it's a big thing to get married. But Gemara looks at it, she's not losing any money. She wants to get married. Have the husband get married. He's making a shidduch. It's a osik b'mitzvah. He's getting them married, and even though he has to say that he's going to pay. It's interesting. Here you have a whole sugi. You're talking about people to say I'm going to pay, and maybe he's not really obligated because he's not so mechtas. He doesn't mean it. He knows. He doesn't mean it. It's strange that even though he says I'm going to pay, he doesn't have to pay at the end. That came in Aga because we wanted to explain how he's going to explain Masukri of Beidra of Nachman in order to get the Mishnah talking about an hour. And back to the Mishnah, it's very, very hard. That's what the Mishnah is talking about. The Mishnah says in Zaken Geridis and Malchov Beininus and each of the Ziburis is talking about an Orev, maybe only an Orev Kabbalah and a father Orev Kabbalah. Yeah. Yeah, but who says something about a father before? Someone Orev. The Mishnah, to say the Mishnah is talking about the fathers and Orev. Who's someone an Orev? We're talking about the Zaken Bidis. What do you mean the father? The father who's an Orev. It doesn't say anything in the Mishnah. The Mishnah says the father. The Mishnah says the Zaken Bidis. If sticking the father over here, the father Orev Kabbalah, like doesn't say anything. Even though the Gemara did say Kabbalah, the Gemara said, once the Gemara says that the father is back to the original, okay. But it's very dochak, extremely dochak. And now the Gemara is going to finally knock off the whole shot. This is only necessary to save Masud Beidra of Nachman. But now comes Ravina. Where is that? Amar Ravina. This is the fourth kasha against Rav Masud Beidra of Nachman. This is going to be a knockout. Amar Ravina Tashma Meikora the content. The Brisa says that the reason why they were attacking is because Yosef Mimasha Ishwa Salisa Isha Vasalinase. How come the woman gets Ziburis? It says in the Brisa yesterday, the Brisa said, how come the Nizik can't see this? How come? Because people should be careful not to be mazik. How come the Balchov gets this, that he shouldn't lock his door when someone comes to borrow? How come the woman gets Ziburis? Because she wants to get married. But if you learn the whole mission, the whole thing. What? You'll tell me, Masha Isha Lisa, Isha Meikora the takantin. Tashma meikora the takantin. I'll bring you right from the beginning of our takana. The original source of our takana. Meikora the takantin. From the beginning of our.
From the beginning, there was a takana.
No. From the beginning of the takana. So we scroll back to yesterday's daf, and over there, and it says the reason. It says the reason in the brisa. Here it says, more than the man wants to get married, the woman wants to get married. That's the reason why they said it's busy boris. That means, so that sounds, that has nothing to do with Yisomim. If the reason is because of Yisomim, you should say because Yisomim always there's a takana to get ziburis. You could ask also, and how come maybe they want to give her more money? Then you'll say because she wants to get married anyway. But it should have not. It shouldn't have skipped all that. It should have said miyasme. How come too? She says busy buris if she only be this. If it's from Yisomim, and they should have said that. Rav Shimon should have said that about ziburis from Yisomim over here. It doesn't say that. So that's a knockout. That Masuch made of Nachman is not true. The E. Salted Daitaf. Miyasme. If the whole time the ziburis is only from Yisomim, then it shouldn't have said that. Hi, we shouldn't be asking you. It should. This reason. The reason is because it's from Yisomim. Of course, you have to have in the back, on the footnote. You have to say, and don't think here is the takana to give more like Rav Meir Beinin is because china. Because anyway she wants to get married. But that shouldn't have skipped it. You shouldn't have skipped the main point. Tifta the Masutra. Tifta, so we knocked off Masutra. So now we go back to what we always thought that Subasisha is busy buris even from the husband himself. This whole thing was just to save Rav Nachman. The whole Balagami did was just to save Pshat how he learned the Mishnah. But at the end he's wrong. And the din that Subasisha is busy buris is even from their husband himself. Amar Zutra Bey de Rav Nachman. Also the same person of Zutra Bey de Rav Nachman now is talking about the name of his father. Rav Nachman. So he's saying in the name of Rav Nachman, his father, what if there's a shtarchov? We know about chov. This is a document of death that the father died, the lover died, and now they're coming to collect from the Yisomim. And the thing is that even though from the father you'd be able to collect baininus, now that he died and you're going to the Yisomim, he only gets ziburis. But it said in the document that he has the right to collect idis. Shevach means the best, idis. That usually a balchov only collect baininus, but here they made up an agreement between the malva and the lover. I'm going to pay idis, and then the lover died, so they only can go to the ziburis, and they go to ziburis. That's a big chiddush because they made up. They made up. That means that's what the rice what he's supposed to pay. And Rav Nachman still says that he sold him only for ziburis. Okay, that's what Nachman's did. They should without any agreement. They would have paid baininus. Balchov pays baininus to pay idis, and then he died. Shevach means idis, and then he died. So you're going to the Yisomim. So you might think the malva comes with a star. It says here idis. No, still only ziburis. It's not. Baininus was knocked down to ziburis. Idis also was knocked down to ziburis. Even though it says openly in the contract that they made up to pay idis, the Yisomim only pay ziburis. Amar Avaya. Teda, Rabbi says, I'll support Rav Nachman. The Balchov, the enable baininus. Like every Balchov. It has even a bigger chiddush, but it's the same Yisod. That a regular Balchov has to pay baininus. And now, and if he died, Yisod pays ziburis. So too, if they made up between themselves, they're going to pay idis, and he died, also goes down to ziburis. What's the difference? A regular Balchov pays baininus, and by Yisod ziburis. So this one would have paid idis, and it goes down to ziburis. But Rava says it's not comparable. Rava is going to be against Rav Nachman. He's really going to pass. Rava holds against Rav Nachman. What's the comparison between the regular Balchov and this specified agreement of the Balchov? Balchov, the Raisa Beziburis. Really, Balchov is also supposed to get the Raisa. What is a Balchov allowed to collect with the Raisa Ziburis? Gittin. This we didn't have yet in the Gemara, but the Gemara says that Russia that with the Raisa, Balchov has no right to get whatever the Malva wants to bring in. No, Lova wants to give him. Kidula Damaula. Torah, Balchov is ziburis. But the Raisa, the Balchov is not right to collect anything. The Lova can give him ziburis. That you, Malva, stand outside, and the Lova will bring out whatever he wants to as a mashkin over there. But here the Gemara is learning out not only a mashkin, whatever when he wants to pay. The Malva stands outside, then the Lova brings him whatever he wants to. What's someone going to take out from on his own choice? What's he going to take out to pay? The worst. That means that the Torah allows him to pay whatever he wants to. So with the Raisa, the Lova doesn't have to pay baininus; he can pay ziburis. but we upped it. As we said yesterday. How come the Chazal said that the Baal Chov should be paid with baininess? In order that the door shouldn't get slammed in the lover's face. When he wants to borrow money, he knocks on somebody's door, he shouldn't close the door, because if he is only going to get ziburis, he's not going to be excited to lend money. So that's why they upped it with Rabbanan. So with the Raisa, the Baal Chov gets ziburis. The Rabbanan upped it to baininess. And now for the Yisomim, they put it back under the Raisa. The Gabi asked me, Rabbanan under the Raisa, so the Rabbanan put it back under the Raisa again. That's why baininess goes down to ziburis. But over here, to take down at the Raisa and make that the Raisa should go down to ziburis. The dinim of the Raisa bid this. We ask me Nami bid this. Over here, since they made an agreement, so that means on the Raisa level. Since they made whatever you make an agreement, that's the Raisa binding. So they made an agreement to pay you this. So who says that the Rabbanan can knock it down to less than the Torah says? If the Raisa would have been ziburis and they upped it, so they can make it down again. But if the Raisa has to be paid more, how could the Rabbanan come and say that they should pay less? So Rabba argues and says that if they made up to pay you this, then some also have to pay you this. Rav was arguing on Rav Nachman. No, Ula's talking about a Baal Chov. Ula says a Baal Chov with the Raisa pays ziburis. Everybody agrees. But the question over here was that they made up in the contract that the Baal Chov should pay you this. So Rav Nachman holds that if he dies and you're going to the Yisomim, they also only pay ziburis. Rav says no, he answered the Raisa already since they made up. So but the Raisa has to pay him this. So the Rabbanan don't knock it down to ziburis. So Machlok is going on. Well, the Rava, but Tani Avram Chosa. I think so far there's the only place we have in the Shah so far that there's an Amora called Avram. We have a lot of Yitzchaks, you have a lot of Yaakovs, but you don't have any Avrams. Here's Avram Chosa. Chosa from the city of Chosa. So he said over a brisa. When I was in a Cheder, they used to say that you don't find any Tana Amora Avram and Moshe. You have all other names, you have a lot of other names, but you don't know, you have Yitzchak and Yaakov very much. You have Reuven, you have Shimon, you have Levi, you have Yehuda, Yosef, but you don't have Avram and Moshe as being names in the Gemara too much. But here's somebody, Avram Chosa. He seems to be an Amora. Whenever it says Atani Avram, it says like Atani somebody. It means it's said over a brisa. Avram Chosa said over a brisa. What does the brisa say? And from Nechsi Yisomim, Elaban Aziburis, Rafilu Eni Zakin. Oh, this we didn't know about. We thought so, but it doesn't. Here it says beferish that you can't collect from Yisomim only Ziburis, even a Zakin, even if the father damaged, and that will be this Torah. And the father died, and now they come to Yisomim to collect the damages that the father had to pay. So it says you only pay Ziburis. So it's Amish against Rava. Rava said that if there's a deraisa, ein malaso. If there's a deraisa that the father would have to pay, so then they have to pay whatever the Torah says. Here it's not like that because the zaken of the rice is bidis, and the Chayes says the Chum knocked it down to ziburis. Well, the zaken the dinam of the rice is bidis, that's a kasha. Rav Nachman is very good. Rav Nachman says they knocked down even the deraisa, but according to Rav, they didn't knock down the deraisa. If the deraisa has to pay this, so by the zaken, how come you pay? They knocked down to ziburis. The answer is Acham Mayaskina ki gon choy say idis the nizik is ziburis the mazik. Rabbi Shmuel he the Amam with the rice with the nizik shaminan. They take an olam takin rabbanan with the mazik. The Gabi asked me, so the answer is going to be that you're not going against the deraisa because we're going to go according to Rabbi Shmuel that says all you have to pay is the best of the nizik, not the best, not your best. The mazik, we don't tell the mazik to pay his best. Only with Rabbanan. With the deraisa, you can pay the best of the nizik. If you have property equal to the best of the nizik, you can give that. So with the deraisa, even if you have more, only with Rabbanan you have to give your best. If they take it on, but you make sure you be careful. But with the deraisa, you can pay his best. His best was my worst. So that's what it says. So that's a case of if the mazik was a rich guy and his ziburis was equal to the nizik's best, so then with the deraisa, and then he died, so the Yisomim could pay ziburis. Why? Because they yotze the deraisa. Because the deraisa would be to pay equal to, they can't pay less than that. If they have ziburis, which is less than the nizik's, they can't because they go against the deraisa. Rabbi says you can't go against the deraisa. So that's where the brisa says, Avram Chosa's brisa says that you could pay ziburis. Why? Because with the brisa you could do that because it's equal to the idus of the nizik. It's only Rabbana that you're supposed to pay more. If they take an oath to get Rabbana with the mazik, that you should be careful. The Gabi asked me, Rabbanan, other brisa. So Rabba got out of it. Rabba is still safe. Rabba says that you came from a place called Navy so. So he said over a brisa, and from the Yisom, Elam and Aziburis, Idis. Very strange term. You collect from the Yisom only Ziburis, even if they're Idis. What do the words mean? The words are very, very strange. What do these words mean? That you collect only Yisomim, even if they're Idis. What does it mean? The words are very ambiguous. We'll try to figure it out. My feeling Idis. What do the words mean? La Ba'afagav, the Chsiv, Idis B'shtar. Doesn't it mean, Rav Nachman's case? Rav Nachman says that if it says in the shtar, so then it's still ziburis. What did Nachman say? That even if the Malban Lova made up, that they're going to pay Idis, still they some will only pay ziburis. It's good? Oh, you want that? So here's a brisa which is very ambiguous. Yeah, and Eliezer and Abisah said over a brisa, you don't collect from the Yisom and only Ziburis, even if they're Idis. The words, like, you can't read the words. What does it mean? From Ziburis, even if they're Idis. So we have to make some sense out of the words. And it sounds like it's our case. Mamish, the case of Nachman said, that they wrote in the shtar that I'm obligated, the Malbin, the law made up that they're going to pay Idis. And it says, even so, you only pay Ziburis. My feeling is, what do the words mean? La ba'afagav t'chsiv Idis b'shtora. Doesn't it mean to say this case? That even if they made it up, Idis, still which means with the rights that they have to pay Idis, still the Yisom pays Ziburis. So it's mamish against Rava, so he's going to get out of it. No, that's not the pshat in the brisa. My Idis, what does it mean in the words Idis in the brisa? Shafoi Idis. So Rashi says Shafoi means that it jumped away. That means that it became not usable. It got flooded, it got taken away, whatever it was. The case was, so there's a chiddush over here, that whatever the chiyuv is chal, the shiva is chal on something, whatever it might be, it has been a zaken, the zaken vidis, and about chobabenis, whatever it might have been, that there was a shiva chal on a certain piece of land, and then it got destroyed. So he loses his whole shiva. Whatever we said, that you don't get downgraded to the next. You get nothing. It means you have to pay your chol, but you don't have to pay any kind of certain kind of land. So Shafar Yidis means Kid Rava. The Amar Rava himself said this. Hizik Ziburis over Mina Yidis. Even whatever you mazik, you have to pay this. That's true. That's we know. Whatever you damage, you have to pay this. That's a portion of them. But Shafar Yidis government abenim is that if the Yidis got destroyed, jumped away, whatever lost, so then he does collect from Baininus. That's only with Rabbanan. With the Raisa, you don't get anything. The Gabi Yasmi or more Rabbanan the Raisa. So Rabba protected himself. Rabba said, I can get out of the kasha also. What was your kasha? That it says that there's a case where the someone pays Ziburis, even if it's Idis. So we thought it means that even if they wrote Idis in the contract, no, it doesn't mean that. Rabba still holds his pshat that whatever is the Raisa, the someone don't pay less. The only thing it says over here is that after Idis, it's not here anymore. So then with the Raisa, you lose any kind of schus, and he can pay whatever he wants to. And the Rabbanan upped it to Baininus, but by the Rabbanan, they didn't up it. So it comes out after the whole sugya, there's a machlokas going on. The din that Yisom only pays Ziburis, Rav Nachman knows that it's absolute. Even if there would be the rice, you'd have to pay Idis or Baininus, but the rice you go down to Ziburis. And Rava says no, they didn't go down on the rice, they only went down on the Rabbanan. That remains to be a machlokas. Shapoy. So Rashi says that it jumped, moved. I think the word is like shaf for Yosef, that the word or shaf that something got moved out of place. So Rashi says, as I show the Rashi over here, where's Rashi? Dilma. Can I find it? Shapoy. Here's the Rashi. No, even earlier. Shapoy. This cuffed some of the fun. It jumped away. That's the Rashi. Shafoy here. It's in the Dibra Masal Ma'idis, and it's really a mistake. It should be a new Dibra Masal. It should be a new Rashi over here. Put two dots over here and start a new Rashi. And Rashi explains Kaf Samar Lefano. I think we find the word Shaf. Shaf means to be moved. Shaf Yosef. Okay, so we're falling behind, but I guess we'll stop here. And we're up to any from the Chassid Samar. What? But over there, it doesn't explain it. He doesn't explain what the word shafaya means. Shafaya explained a couple of words, a couple of lines earlier, and over there he just says kafsa, doesn't explain where the word comes from. But the word shafaya, Rashi says kafsa mulapanav, it's not here anymore. Later on, and that dibra masal, he doesn't explain it. I think. I don't think Rashi Shafoy is saying that it's nice. Shafoy means that jump. But that's not the word Shafoy. That's only saying the what the Gemara means, but not the word translation. Okay, so I'll stop here and up to any from next year. Some of them Naziburis. Yes, thank you.
Good Shabbos.
Shabbos, have a good Shabbos and a refuah shleimah.
Amen.